Bruce, you talked about it last series, but you have Adin Hill come in, obviously Ivan Barbashev contributing, Bluiker entering the lineup. What's it say about the additions that you guys have made and how they've added to the depth of this group?
Yeah, I mean, we relied on it all year. We went through a number of different injuries at different positions. So, as I said, I think Krim did a real good job at the deadline finding the players that would be best suited for us. And they've come in those roles, done a good job for us. That's just what's required. I think we've been a team that, as I said, has used everybody all year. We rely on that formula. We're going to rely on it again for hopefully another 2 rounds.
Bruce, I know you don't like to talk about the past of this group just because you weren't here, but 2 trips to the conference finals, missing the playoffs last year. Can the group kind of use that as motivation going into this round, or is it too far gone that it's already?
I think they can. I think if I was in that position, I certainly would look at it that way, that it's not a given every year. You see that with different teams around the league. It became one here in Vegas, which is a good thing. Expectations are high, and then it's taken away from you. So I think that's where the motivation would come from. Let's get back to being that team that expects to be there every year and does the work to get there. So I think there's guys that would use it, but now I think we're farther along than that. Now you're thinking, okay, you're a Final Four. It's about the big prize. I mean, the motivation originally might have been to get there. Now I think you've got something real tangible in front of you. So the motivation about winning the Stanley Cup should be enough for everybody, I would think.
Both of these teams are real good at creating offense off the rush. Do you expect there to be like a lot of rush chances, or is that going to be the focus on let's not let that happen?
Well, if we do play the way we would like to, I would think they would be limited. If Dallas plays the way they want to, then Heiskanen and Harley, these guys will be up the ice as a second wave, and Hintz will be getting the puck with speed. So that'll be the challenge for us to take that away from Dallas. I think we have a pretty good rush game when we're going as well, so I'm sure they've got their talking points, so to speak, to take that away from us. So I think that happens in every series with most teams, and then whoever executes the plan better usually, or is more committed to the plan, will be able to deny what the other team wants to do. So I guess we'll see, right? But from our end, I hope I'm not watching video on Saturday morning looking at a bunch of rush chances, because we've addressed it. Now it is game 1. I think, as I said the other day, the best laid plans, sometimes you got to get out there and play and live it. And then, as you go along, you need to do the necessary things to take away some of those. You'd hope to do it right out of the gate. That is our plan with certain things, but we'll see how it all transpires.
Bruce, just 2 questions for you. One, Adin Hill wasn't on the ice. Alec Martinez.
Maintenance day for him and Alex Martinez today.
Okay.
Alex, sorry.
Obviously, you look at the size that you guys have on the back end. It's significant. I mean, you coach Z, but it's not. You don't have Z, but it's pretty. You got a lot of big guys. Dallas likes to funnel a lot of pucks to that front of the net. What do you think that the size that you guys have can negate some of what they like to do?
Well, I do, and I think it's negated a number of teams because of their size. We've been able to do that when we're on, right? When we're playing our best hockey, we're good at boxing out. We understand the value of getting out under sticks versus fronting pucks and getting block shots. And I think we got guys that do both. It will be at a premium, I think. We all know Pavelski is probably second to none at that in the high slot. So our timing of our D being net front to box out and clear rebounds for our goaltender versus getting out to where Pavelski likes to tip pucks higher will be something that we have to be mindful of, because you can be 2 feet away from him and he's still going to tip the puck, as you know. We saw it over and over. So that'll be the challenge for us. And I think as we go along in the series, we'll get better at it. But at first it may be, because they're used to being closer to the front of the net, I think we're going to have to encourage guys and stick with that. So for us early on, it's going to be, I think, more as important for our wingers going out to the point to limit those lanes to the net. Understand what they're trying to do so we can help our D get comfortable with leaving the front of the net and challenging those tips. Because all year long we've wanted them fairly close to the front of the net. And they're one of the best teams in the league, Dallas, of using that high tip. So that'll be the challenge. We'll see how we do. If we can close some plays off on our end quick, then they won't get high to low as much. So we've talked about that, a couple ways we can do that. So that'll be one of the biggest, like I said, things that we'll be looking for as a staff. How can we do that?
speaking to that size that you guys have on the back end, it's hard to make comparisons, but is this one of the biggest groups that you've coached in terms of defense groups, or
It is. I mean, don't forget, I came from Zdeno Chara times, who was 6'9", and Adam McQuaid was 6'4", and Kevin Miller was a big guy. Brandon Carlo, I think, is 6'5". And we also had Torrey Krug and Grizzlich that balanced some of that size because they were smaller puck movers. Here we don't have those. I think Marty's probably our smallest defenseman. He's 200 pounds. So it is a bigger group if you take the 6 of them. So the biggest, yes, probably. And we try to use that to our advantage. And I think they've done a real good job at what we've asked them to do in terms of clearing the front of the net. We changed our system a little bit. I think they enjoy playing it, and they've responded well to it.
Adin jumped in mid-series last time. I guess what impressed you about kind of the mental toughness he showed to get in there, and then obviously even in Game 6, rebound from 2 early goals?
Yeah, you never know what's going to take place, right? I think it's a guy that we have faith in and we know we can play and play well. Playoffs a different animal, right? Some guys respond better to the situations that come up in the playoffs, whether they call it pressure or whatever. Different practice, you don't practice as much. Guys need a certain amount of work versus guys that don't. Whatever. Media scrutiny a little more. Whatever it is, mentally he seems to be just fine with it. Physically, we were hoping he'd catch up quick because he hadn't played some hockey, but that part we knew would eventually come, and it came obviously quick enough, right? Because he made stops. And then the mental part, like I said, that's an unknown until you're thrown in there. He's done a real good job with it. LB did a good job with it. I think our goaltenders are solid that way. And I think some of that just permeates down from how we play in the group in front of them, and guys telling them, hey, we're there for you. Just, make your stops that you're supposed to, and we'll be there for you. So I think it's a kind of a group effort, but they're the ones that handle it well. And Adin coming in the middle of the series, kudos to him. I think certainly say he was one of the differences in the series, that position. I think he definitely outplayed their guy, and it's one of the reasons we're advancing.
One more for you. Brett Howden scored a couple goals in the Winnipeg series, had a bunch of points. Didn't necessarily produce on the score sheet that much, obviously, in the Edmonton series, but still seemed to be a factor. What have you liked about his game in these playoffs, and why do you like him on that line with Stevenson and Stone?
Well, I've liked his accountability, his physicality. He hasn't changed whether he's scoring or not. Puck's finding him. Found him more against Winnipeg, that whole line in general. Not quite as much against Edmonton for whatever reason. But he's still, our first guy in typically F1 on every forecheck, creating loose puck situations. And Mark Stone's a very smart guy to kind of anticipate where it's going. So we'll get some turnovers that way. Still a big part of the penalty kill. So we know he's comfortable in the 200-foot game. Can skate and keep up with D that are activating. Bouchard activated a lot. Ceci was up the ice. So as a left winger against those guys, you have to know they're coming. So I liked his responsibility there. 5-on-5, right? I think there were some points obviously against us by their big guys. A lot of it was power play driven. For the most part, 5-on-5, we were able to squash some of those opportunities, and he's a part of that. And that's what I've liked about his game from day one. Gives those guys a little more freedom offensively, knowing they have a guy that can play both ways. And he also Danny made a lot of plays, like little area plays to help those guys. So I don't think the puck followed all 3 of them. It wasn't just Howe. It's just in general for whatever reason. You saw it with Mark. More was happening for Eichel's line, and that's okay as long as we get enough goals from somebody. So I suspect they'll get a few more looks this series. They're too good not to, but that's been Howie. So we put him up there at the start of the year. He got injured. We put him back, thinking he could balance things off on the other lines. Allows you to drop Riley Smith maybe. If you could call that a third line with Carly, that's a pretty good luxury to have. So I think that was the thinking behind it. He's got to be the guy that makes it work, and his Stevie and Stoney have to pull him along. There were more veteran guys than they have. So credit first to Howie and then his 2 line mates.